Chairman. I appreciate the opening questions by both the chairman and ranking member, and the strong bipartisan support that that Congress has shown for the U.S.-India strategy. We recently introduced a resolution, a sense of Congress that was bipartisan, 24 members, talking about 3 decades, of strategy, going back to President Clinton, to President Bush, to President Obama, to President Trump's first term, to President Biden. It's clear our interest from the congressional perspective and the administration perspective is a closer relationship, both our economic interests, our geopolitical strategic interests, to create an atmosphere of security, peace, prosperity that I think both the Indian people want, that we also want. Mr. Smith, I appreciated Chairman Huizinga's questioning about the importance of the Indian Ocean region. I recently visited with Western Naval Command and sat there. And the maritime partnership between the United States and India is extremely strong right now, and I think there's a desire to do more joint training, more exercises. That's a vast region, and we will have to partner with India. I'd love to get Australia more engaged in the Indian Ocean area as well, because we were probably a little slow into the Pacific Island region and so forth, and lost some ground, but we see what competitor nations are doing in that region, and for a free and open Indian Ocean region, for maritime security, for freedom of navigation, it's going to be important for us to work together and much more closely together. I guess I will ask a question. I know the ranking member had a picture of Prime Minister Modi with Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. And that does cause some heartburn for folks in Congress. But I also think my assessment is India understands their long-term interests. They have to coexist with China. They have to trade with China, look for ways to be competitors with China. But my assessment, having been in India recently, is they also understand a lot of their long-term interests lie with the West. A lot with the United States, with Europe, others. They're welcoming U.S. multinational companies investing, and there's some synergy there. I guess I'd start with you, Mr. Lalwani. You say that isn't accurate?
Absolutely.
Mr. Shankar?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Great. I also, some of the recent announcements, the $100,000 tariff on the H1Bs, it was announced when we were landing in India, so spent a lot of time trying to do some damage control there. My perspective is this fee hurts American companies, disadvantages our companies. I'm glad that I've heard the president at times say, hey, wait a minute, we need this talent. We need these relationships. We need to work with like-valued allies or I wouldn't say like-valued partners to solve these big challenges, whether that's AI, whether that's biohealth security, whether that's creating redundant supply chains. So I'm glad to see the president starting to put out those comments, and I hope we can work together in Congress to come up with a visa that allows Indian scientists to travel back and forth to the United States, as well as U.S. Scientists and engineers to move back and forth to India. And that's something that we've had conversations about, to create a visa category or corridors where we can freely move back and forth. These are not folks that are threats to overstay their visas. In fact, the dynamism of young Indian talent that's come here to get educated, many of them are not going back to India because you see dynamic markets in India where there's tremendous growth in the domestic economy there, that they can do proof of concept with their ideas, they can scale up in India, and then bring those ideas back to the United States. So I would hope we see more of this cross-collaboration. I guess the last question I would have is, or it's probably a statement. Yes, we do have some concerns about India's closeness with Russia, but just based on historic norms, that's to be expected. What I would like to encourage India to do is, the president sincerely does want to find a cessation to the conflict in Ukraine. India can play a unique role given their lines of communication with the Russians, given their ability to understand the Russians, to bring them to the table. I would think the president would look at that very favorably. I think this is a time for India that wants to take a bigger role on the global stage to, step up to the stage and use your father's a very seasoned diplomat who I've gotten to know. So, I think he's very capable of doing this. And then when this conflict ends, we are going to have to work together to figure out how do we bring Russia back into the fold? What does that look like? So I think India can play a big role there. Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman's time.